Hello, this video attempts to explain action research design as informed by Chapter 17 of Cresswell and Gutterman's book, Educational Research. In its development, its very seed begins when there is a specific and practical problem in education to solve. Action research was first used as a term by Kurt Lewin in the 1930s when examining citizen group processes to develop an approach to research. It introduced the ideas of a process of step, participation, and the democratic impulse of involvement and contributing to social change. From then, action research was picked up in the 1970s as a self-reflective tool for staff development. It progressed into the 80s and 90s from school-based site councils and self-studies to become teacher-initiated research. Action research has grown into an important research method for school renewal. It's grown in importance because it encourages change in schools. It fosters a democratic approach to education and really is born out of collaboration. It's teachers turning their vision into practice, and that innovation is born by a process of testing new ideas. There are two types of action research: practical action research and participatory action research. Practical action research looks at local practices. It is individual or team-based inquiries, and the topics are about the teacher development or student learning. It's all about implementing an action plan and that teacher turning into a professional as researcher. Assumptions that are made of teachers as researchers using this design is that they have a practice of ongoing professional development. They're committed to school growth and their own growth. They're reflective and want to collaborate, and they can execute a research process. The research process that they choose to examine develops an action plan. It looks at and identifies an area of focus that they would like to grow for themselves or within the school. They collect data, they analyze and interpret, and continue to develop action plans. I want you to notice the arrows and how there seems to be many different ways that the research design may spiral within this. The data that is collected may be analyzed and inform further data collection, or it may inform further areas of focus. This type of research is evaluative in nature. The type of things that they research with this type of design is things like a team composed of students, teachers, and parents studying the results of implementing a new math program in a local junior high, or it can be as simple as an elementary teacher studying the disruptive behavior of a child in her classroom. In contrast, the participatory action research has a lot of the foundations of action research, but it studies the social issues that constrain individual lives. It has that same emphasis on equal collaboration between teacher and participant, but it has more of a drive for those life-enhancing changes for people and the emancipated researcher. There are 6 central themes to participatory action research. It is a social process. It's participatory, and really it aims to help people recover and release those social constraints on them. It's a focus on bringing about change greater than the school. Again, there is a spiraling model for this researching design. The people who use it look, think, and act, and it is recursive. It is evaluative so that the process of examination and the process of research is revisited and revised over and over and over again. Examples of this type of research are tests that label and stereotype students. Do the texts omit important historical persons or events of cultural and ethnic groups? Or in K-12 classrooms, do the interactions silence or quiet the voices of minority students? There are 2 distinct differences between these 2 types of research. The data collection that is used with this type of research design depends on the questions and the resources and time available to the researcher. It can be qualitative or quantitative or a mixture of both. It is collaborative and encouraged to have multiple resources for triangulation of data. The research that is collected can be from a variety of different formats. It can be everything from the participant observation to questionnaires or attitudinal scales to a journal kept. Most often, many types of resources and sources are used together. The data that's collected is analyzed, and it's a dynamic process that spirals. Again, it is that process that occurs over and over again and refined to really get a true picture of what that problem might be and the solution to it. Gathering of others' interpretations of the data is encouraged, and the analysis really depends on the methods. It may be descriptive statistics that are revealed from here. There may be themes that are developed out of coding from different interviews or surveys of participants. But the interpretation of this data really extends the analysis by raising questions, and maybe it further informs that research design and that spiral process again. It makes connections to the researcher's personal experiences, and often the researchers are seeking the advice of other staff members or of experts and contextualizing the findings in both theory and literature. Reporting of action research design is not often in scholarly journals or book publications. It's often reported directly to stakeholders, whether there was a committee formed to initiate this action research, or maybe it's the teacher informing the school district or principals or students. Postings are often made on blogs or websites or discussion forums within districts. It may even be through performances. Evaluating whether or not the action research is a good source or very valid depends on whether or not it really has addressed a practical issue. Are there multiple sources of data? Was it collaborative? Was it respectful of the participants? And most importantly, does it reflect the researchers' and participants' growth? And ultimately, does it advance a plan of action? This action plan that comes out of the research may be formal or informal. It may have few or many individuals, but it is the response to the problem. Critiques of the action research design? Well, some are reluctant to view it as a legitimate form of inquiry at all. It is an informal process of research, and teachers are not formal academic researchers and may not have graduate level courses or the kind of training to support the type of research that they may be doing. The approach is not necessarily considered practical or scientific, and people critique it to say that the methods are adapted and changed over and over again, and maybe are not as rigorous or systematic an approach as they need to be. There are also several ethical concerns for this type of research as well. Consent forms may be too brief, vague, and they may pressure participants. They may not necessarily know what they're getting into because of their close relationship that they may have with the researcher. Participants may be coerced. There's a dual relationship that exists between the teacher and researcher in this design, and participants may not want to opt out because they may not want to disappoint or because of their relationship with the teacher. Because of these concerns, Bride and Miller in 2009 pointed out a term called covenantal ethics. It emphasized the importance of caring relationships, that shared commitment for social justice, and researchers researching in the best interest of both the participants, the researcher, and for social change. Thus, action research is a way to conduct research with, as opposed to on, a community to address practical issues and to take action. I wanted to share with you as well that the Alberta Teachers Association has created an action research guide for teachers in Alberta, and I've included the bit.ly with this as well. Ultimately, I hope you have enjoyed my presentation on action research design. I think it is very important, And this design really appealed to me